Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Come on, baby, let the good time roll. Come on, baby, let me thrill your soul. Come on, baby, let the good time roll. Roll all night.
It is Rock and Roll Friday on the one and only Savage Nation, the winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award. And here I am, open for business as usual, holding down the fortress. I'm going to do something fun for you today. Oh, I have all the news stories. No, you're not going to hear the word CNN. CNN bad. Democrats bad. We're not going to do it. We're not doing it today. I'm going to do something a little different. Do you think you would make a good talk show host? How would you like to be a talk show host for 17 seconds or less? Because that's what you're going to get a chance to do today. I realize something. Many of you listen to talk radio, and well, maybe you can. Some of you think you could be a better talk show host than I am, and maybe you can. It's possible there's someone out there who can. But when I first began in radio, I had a program director, great guy, and he said he would get hundreds of tapes a week. I guess they sent tapes in those days. And he said he listened to them for 7 seconds. And he could tell in 7 seconds whether they could be on the radio or not. If they weren't, he'd throw them in the garbage. So I'm going to give you 17 seconds to call this show. And don't say, hello, Michael. How are you, Michael? Thank you, Michael. I love you, Michael. I want to... Whatever. Go on the radio when you call this show. And for everyone listening across America, maybe around the world, since this show is number one streaming radio show in the United States of America. Yes, let me repeat that. This is the number one streaming talk radio show in America. And if you get on the show, you'll be heard by people around the world. So just get on the show, make believe it's your show, and you're going to be on the air. What would you say? 855-407-282. Now, that's just something I'm going to do today, and you're welcome to join me. I want to talk today on Rock and Roll Friday. Certainly, I'll do the news. There's plenty of it. German gutter punks cry as they are maced. You know, all of the guys with the weird haircuts and the death to capitalism tattoos and the ugly girlfriends with green and pink hair and syphilis and AIDS and degenerate diseases of all kinds. They're rioting in the streets against Trump. They're against capitalism. So I wrote, don't they know they would be fertilizer if capitalism was replaced by communism? Have they no idea? Of course not. This is what drugs, sex, and rock and roll do to your brain. It's on michaelsavage.com. There are other stories I really want to get to. New York Post had the best headline of all. It's a picture of the sneering mayor of New York, the commie mayor, de Blasio. And their headline says it all. The day after an NYPD cop was executed, Mayor de Blasio jets off to Germany to rally lefties against the G20 and don't come back. Now, that's the kind of tabloid headline I like. I grew up on it. Those are the kind of bold headlines I like. Those are the kind of bold headlines I use. That's what makes this show different than, let's say, other shows. I use bold headlines. So those are some of the stories that are getting to me. For those of you who are into sex and rock and roll, here's some bad news. New York Daily News, Constant Gibbs, untreatable super gonorrhea on the rise, spread by oral sex. I know you want to believe that there are no consequences to your degeneracy, but I'm sorry to tell you my mother was right. Sex is dirty. So the new strain of gonorrhea is infecting people all over the world, and the WHO is sending a warning that this mutant super gonorrhea is not treatable by current means. See, boys and girls, even though you would like to change the laws of biology and the laws of morality, I'm sorry, they're immutable. They don't change. 78 million people develop gonorrhea every year, and it's a new antibiotic-resistant strain. It can't be treated. And so the new strain leaves gonorrhea bacteria in the throat that can't be treated. So the doctors think it's strep throat. They treat it with standard antibiotics, and then they mix with the bacteria, creating antibiotic-resistant gonorrhea. And so the people who are getting this are winding up very sick. The sexually transmitted infection, which can affect the genitalia, rectum, and throat, is the second most commonly reported STI in the U.S. 820,000 people each year. But because gonorrhea often exhibits no symptoms, many people are initially unaware they are infected. I'm not going to read you the symptoms. Any child knows what they are. Any high schooler knows what they are. But there's only one cure for this, which is abstinence. By the way, I know it sounds crazy, but okay, hey, whatever. Just thought I'd share a sex story with you today. Do you think you'd make a good talk show? I was also going to do a summer show. I want to do a summer show. I was on my bicycle this morning as usual. Take my morning bike ride, talk to a few construction workers, a few gardeners, and I start my day looking at the water, talking to a few simple working men. And I thought, you know what a beautiful day it is. The average person's really enjoying the summer. It's great out there. They're not into the news. They don't care about the G20 and the gutter punks rioting. They don't care about any of this garbage. You know what? They want to take their little piece of apple pie while it can still be served to them. So they're out enjoying themselves, whatever they do. And I thought about my love for summer, at least what I used to have, how I used to have a love for summer. And I thought about years gone by and how I came to love boats and sports cars. I still love sports cars and boats, but I was thinking about how I came to love boats and sports cars. And my boating experiences began on a little rowboat in Spring Glen, New York, in a little tiny creek where we used to fish for catfish. Can you believe that? And then I guess I gravitated to the next level. My father's friend had a motorboat, and he lived in Amityville, Long Island. But I'm talking about an outboard with a motor. Do you know that to this day I can smell the exhaust from that engine as it burbled around the harbors of the South Shore of Long Island? It was one of those magical days of my life. Being a kid who had never been on a boat before, I didn't even know what a boat was. Sure, I had seen them underneath the Williamsburg Bridge in the Brooklyn Navy Yard at that time as they came. And believe it or not, you would see ships under repair in the Brooklyn Navy Yard driving over the Williamsburg Bridge going into Manhattan from Queens when I was a kid. But aside from that, I never really was on a boat, not even a ferry. So rowboat, then the motorboat, gurgling sounds, and all the family sitting around in his little house out there on the South Shore eating some kind of meal. I don't know what it was. It was one of the best memories I have in my whole life. And I was thinking about asking the audience, what is your favorite summer childhood memory? I don't care who you are, you have one. I don't care how smart you think you are or how above it all you think you are. I can guarantee you even Bill Gates once in a while sits around on a summer day and reflects on his childhood and says, God, that was a beautiful day. Had I only been able to grab that rainbow, put it in a jar and capture it forever. But you can't grab a rainbow and put it in a jar unless you're an artist, unless you're a painter or a sculptor or a writer or an orator. You cannot grab that. Sure, the old snapshots can grab it for you. That's great. Then the artist takes that and paints it, etc. You know what I'm saying? So we got many would-be talk show hosts calling the show. And you want to share a memory of your favorite summer childhood memory? You know what I've been spending? You know, I daydream a lot now looking at my car books. You know how I really relax? I love looking at my classic car books. It takes me to another place. It's innocent. It's beautiful. I look at the old engines in these magazines and these restored cars. Primarily the cars I like. I like old Jaguars. I have two of them. I have a 1961 Jaguar XK150 drop-head coupe, knockout gorgeous, black-red interior, showroom condition, restored many years ago. Then I have a 1970 XKE, like a light blue, a silver blue. That's a far better car. I mean, it's a derivation of the D-Jag with triple carbs. Awesome car. You got to drive one of these cars to see how great they were, how far ahead of the time they were. I don't use them, and I don't race them or anything like that. They sit in the garage, and like an Italian, I drink espresso and look at the lines of these machines, and I still love doing so. But I steep myself in reading about cars, all kinds of cars, engines, you name it. I have a Dodge Hellcat. Remember, I got that through the Chrysler Corporation. One of the head guys at Chrysler loves the Savage Nation, and he pulled one off the production line for me in Detroit. And I have that car. That is some beast. I hardly drive it because it's in my house in Los Angeles, which I never go to. But I'm thinking of going there this weekend, even though I never go there. But, the 6-hour ride or the torture on South West Airline, So I don't go anywhere. It's either a 6-hour torment on Highway 5 or, when you break it down, it's either 6 hours by car where you don't have to subject yourself to anyone, right? That's one way. Then it's the other thing is like an hour to get ready, then an hour an hour to get ready, then an hour to the airport, then an hour to wait usually, then a drive from the airport. So it's like 2.5, 3 hours anyway, one way or the other, even if you cut pieces off those hours. So you don't know which way is less stress. I mean, I broke the trip down in my head many times when I used to drive in my 2008 Chevy van converted by Explorer Company in Indianapolis. It's the best seats in any car ever made. I tried to buy a new car, a new Explorer van. The old seats are better. This old van has it all going for it. But nevertheless, it's a big V8 Chevy engine, and it has a TV in it built in, whatever. So it's like 6 hours. I break it down. It's an hour and a half from where I live to the Altamont Pass, where the Rolling Stones and the pool cues and the Hells Angels and beat up and killed. And so that's the first 90 minutes. The next 90 minutes is to the McDonald's stand somewhere south of the killing fields of the stockyards, wherever that is. And then it's another 90 minutes. That's the third portion of the trip to L.A., takes you to the Grapevine, which is, for those of you who live in California, know what it is. It's the beginning of the roadway that goes up over the mountain into L.A. It's an amazingly beautiful ride. And I love to understand the geology of those mountains, the prehistoric, the animals that live there. They find dinosaur bones, and you see the oil wells. Don't you still love seeing those oil well donkeys still pumping oil down there in Southern California? Up over the Grapevine, 90 minutes to the house. So it's like 490s. And you could break it up that way if you have another driver, like a 90-90-90-90 thing. I don't know. I don't think I'll go anywhere, as a matter of fact. I think that's the best solution, is to travel everywhere and go nowhere. And that's the beauty of talk radio. And so I invite you to call on these topics if you'd like to be a talk show host, and that's all you're calling about. They're all over the country. Would you like to be a talk show host? Call 855-400-7282. We'll give you 17 seconds, and the rest may be the rest of your life.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. E cantare. He's from the wrong part of Italy. What can I tell you? All right, so you want to be a talk show host, huh? We're going to give you an audition on the Savage Nation, and you're going to get 17 seconds. We're actually going to time you. Are you ready? Are you ready? I feel like it's a fighting, like a match. Are you ready? Are you ready? All right, let's go for it. You're the first up, Constantine, KSFO. So you want to be a talk show host, huh? Go ahead. You got 17 seconds. Here's your audition.
My first talk show would be addressing the 100-plus shootings and 15 deaths that happened in...
All right, sorry, Augustine, you'll never make it in radio. So it can't just be what it bothers you. That's calling a talk show, but that's not going to make you a talk show host. I'll give you some of the keys of being a successful talk show host in a little while, but let's take a few more. Are you ready? Remember, when I say your name and your station and you're up, please just go for it. Don't say hello or thank you. You ready? So, you want to be a talk show host. Gregory on WABC, line 8. You're up. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Gregory coming to you from beautiful New York City, stuck in heavy traffic. And today's topic of conversation is what is really going on between Vladimir Putin
How many seconds was that, Jim?
and Trump.
Hold on. Hold on. We got to stop at 17 seconds. All right. I like your opening. You made it sound like you're on radio, but you should put the statement before the statement. In other words, open it with, "Hi, this is Jim. What's going on between Trump and Putin?" And you know what I'm saying? Go for that. That's the way to go for it. Hit the topic first. Thank you. By the way, everyone who gets on the air will not get a copy of Trump's War. But you're going to have to go buy a copy of Trump's War because it's worthy of your reading Trump's War for the summer. Are there any women out there who want to be talk show hosts? Where are the women callers? Certainly women want to be talk show hosts. Even a mature woman want to. By the way, if you're on Twitter, those of you who tweet, I put up a picture 10 minutes before the show. It's of me in a blue fedora and a yellow shirt with a very beautiful Italian cup, and it's entitled An Espresso Before the Show. I decided to just, throw some pictures up, make it more personal for fun, because, I guess the medium is the message. And there it is, just an espresso before the show. I feel great. I drink an espresso every once in a while before a show. I usually have, it's like rocket fuel for me, and I'm good for 3 hours. I do it the Sullivan Street style, which is a sliver of lemon. It's very tricky to get the lemon exactly right. It's not a piece of lemon. It's not even a slice of lemon. It's a razor-thin slice of lemon skin floating in the cup. That changes everything. First of all, it changes the acid-base balance of coffee. I don't know if you know that. Yeah, that's an old story, but you don't know it. It's not just for flavor. The Italians are so smart. With so many years, millennia of evolution of their cuisine and trial and error, they came to understand that the bitterness of coffee can be balanced somewhat with an alkaline substance such as lemon peel. Did you know that? All right, whatever. Now, do we have any women? No. So you want to be how about a nice, excellent childhood summertime memory? What is your favorite summer childhood memory? Who has a good one? Dan on KBOI in Boise, Idaho, right? Line 2, go ahead, please. Dan, what's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Yeah, this story goes back a while. My family didn't never have a whole bunch of money, but I never knew it because we had used boats and used campers. But it was camping at Lake Shasta in California. And it was my first time to get away from my folks. I begged them if I can go down to the dock by myself for the very first time and go fishing. And it took a little bit of convincing and me wearing a life jacket so that my mom felt safer. But I got down to the dock and got everything baited up and ready to go. And it's the old school fishing pole, where you hold the button and when you go to cast.
Yes, I do. So what's the bottom line? What happened? 8 seconds.
So I go to toss my first cast on my solo fishing.
All right, we'll have to catch. Do you want to be a talk show host or you want to have a great childhood memory? Let's get to it.
Savage.
I'm gonna raise a fuss, I'm gonna raise a holler.
What's this?
About working all summer just to try to earn a
I don't know. That's okay. Either I call for the let's not do rock and roll. So anyway, we're doing this. Do you think you'd make a good talk show host? The phone number is 855-472-8282. You're going to get 17 seconds from the minute we put you on the air to pretend you're a talk show host and capturing a wide audience of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions around the world. What would you say? It's one thing to have something to say, and you could be super literate. You can be a brilliant academician or a brilliant writer or a brilliant politician. It's one thing to know what you're talking about. It's another thing to be able to transmit it instantly to a mass audience and keep them listening for 3 hours a day for 25 years. That's a whole different story. And that's what we're talking about. So try to think about that. What is so immediate about what you're going to say? Or do you think you're going to do that? Or what's your favorite summer childhood memory? So that was one of mine. Amityville, motorboat, fumes, fishing, family dinner afterwards. I don't know, hot dogs, hamburger, whatever we ate. It was the best meal I ever had in my life because my father took one of his rare days off. He normally works 7 days a week. And we were all together, and we were all eating, the guys wore undershirts, and it was screened in porch or something after the motorboat ride. I don't know what we ate, but it was like a paradise for a kid. But those things to me are just like there they are. Look at the world we inhabit today, the insanity. And I say, well, you can blame it all on this, you can blame it all on that. No, just one quick divergence. I couldn't believe this story. Transgender men in women's showers must get dignity and respect, says U.S. Army. You got to see this story. I found it on Breitbart by Neil Monroe, and I linked it up on michaelsavage.com. First of all, take a look at the women in the picture. These are the officers in the military. Take a look at them, and you'll understand why the Army is dysfunctional today. Obama has so destroyed the morale of the military in every branch of service. All you got to do is take a look at the one picture. The female officer sitting front and center in the picture, in the transgender. Now, she's not a trans. I think she's a regular. Looks like Benny Hill in drag. I don't know who she is. But this is a high-ranking officer that Obama elevated. Now, these women don't fight, this type. This is called political appointees. This is the KGB of the U.S. military. So now we learn that female soldiers, if they find a man in their restroom while showering, they can't report it because the man may be a tranny going through some kind of transition. And wait, it gets even better. You're not going to believe this. If a female soldier tries to cover up her private parts when she sees a man in the shower, she could get penalized for it because it could be insulting to the transgender. Think about how sick this is. The insistence that women must remain mute when a man enters the shower room shows a lack of respect to the transgender in the shower. This is what happened as a result of the most devious president imaginable. If a foreign power had occupied the United States and done what this one did to the military, you would say they did more damage than could ever be corrected by any one man. Well, he did this. And that's why, again, I'm going to go political for one more second here. It's very important you hear me because it's not just a joke. Trump's War is not a book, it's a battle plan. And there's a very important chapter, which is Trump's War to Restore the Military. Page 118 says, restoring the purged officers. That is the most important thing. Trump is not doing that, though. Yes, he is bringing back spending, but he is yet to change the climate of terror that was induced in the military by Barack Obama. Anyway, read it for yourself. Now let's see. You want to be a talk show host? Ann on WABC Line 8. Go ahead, please. You're on the air.
Hello, everybody. This is Ann, your favorite talk show host for Friday afternoon, with a favorite summertime memory from way back when the living was easy. We were little girls, me and my cousin, just in our underpants. And my mother...
Stop it. Now, I don't know whether Jim was censoring you because the word underpants offended him in some way. He is a devout Catholic, I know that. Or because you ran out of time. Now, we don't want to know any more about you in the underpants as a child because this is a family show. But you know, that was pretty good, Ann?
Thank you.
Now, what do you actually do for a living?
I'm retired. Actually, I lead a chat group, and I lead a writing group.
No. Well, what did you do, let's say, professionally before you retired?
I retired from the telephone company as an executive assistant.
Well, but you have a good presence. You could actually be better than most people on the radio today.
Oh, thank you so much, Mike.
No, that's if you could sustain it. You know, the trick is to do it and sustain it and sustain an audience, and you need the stamina, you need the energy. But you have a nice persona. It comes across as a pleasant persona. You know, to project a persona on the radio is very interesting. And people can actually hear what you are through your voice. That's important to know. So you have a nice persona, a very nice persona, and I'm going to send you a copy of Trump's War. I think you'd enjoy that. Let's go to another potential talk show host. You know what I may do, actually? You know, I may ask, well, I don't know if I can, but whoever wins today, the top 5, I may offer them, I can't give you a fill-in slot for 2 to 3 hours. That's murder. But, Jim, what if we gave them one segment of the next fill-in show and let them try it? That would be a big break for some people. Why not make the stake, raise the stakes? And I think it's wonderful. How else are you going to find people out there, right? So let's go to the next one out there. Oh, no, that's a fun childhood memory. I'm randomly selecting, by the way. All right? We're going to go to WABC in New York. Joe on WABC Line 9. So you want to be a talk show host. Go, Joe. You're on the air.
This is Joe from Brooklyn, New York. And today's topic I want to talk to you, the audience, about when comedy was not politically correct back in the day, listening to Johnny Carson and the late-night television host, when they weren't afraid of what...
All right, that was more of an editorial and a feeling than it was a captivating method of hooking an audience. Joe, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Now, remember, I'm not trying to put anyone down. Trust me on that. Okay, I'm not here to make you feel bad. I think you did a fantastic job, and you got a lot of nerve to even call this show. Many people are afraid to even call, Joe. So you're getting a consolation prize of Trump's War, copy, hardcover beauty. You know, I could remember the days I wasn't on the radio. I remember listening to a communist station from Berkeley. I'm talking 30 years ago. I hated them so much, I wanted to call in. And the few times I did get on, all they did was sneer at me. They wouldn't even let me talk. I don't want to do that to you. I don't think it's necessary to put a caller down to make yourself feel better. So let's keep going for it. I think this is a fun topic. But we also have excellent childhood memories. So let's see. I'll give you another childhood memory of a summer. We gave the boats, the rowboat in Spring Glen, New York, the motorboat in Amityville with them. I can smell the fumes to this second. If I want to conjure it up, it was a low-power outboard motor on the back of a skiff. Maybe 4 or 5 of us got in the boat. I'd never been in a motorboat in my life. And all this guy did was putter around the dock or something in that area. To me, it was so magical. You know, I saw my relaxed father of memory, may rest in peace. And it's just, I don't know, things come back to you. It's very beautiful. But I'm trying to think of other childhood memories. I think I have none. I was they were not very good memories. Yes, I have another good one. One good childhood memory from summer. Not Loved by the Sewer Plant. I did that already. That was a pretty good memory, but it was a different kind of memory. That was a transition. That was going from one stage of life to another. You know, Loved by the Sewer Plant. That's a changing in a boy's life. That feeling, which you can never capture again. I wrote about it many years later. I was on a ship that went from Los Angeles to Tahiti, which is a very long passage. It was 10 days at sea without land. It was amazing how long this went on. And I remember pacing the deck the day before we were going to arrive in Tahiti. And I stayed up all night. I drank a bottle of red wine. I wanted to just be alone on the boat. In those days, you could just pace on a big ship. There was no music and no people, nothing. They didn't bother you. I walked the decks, and I smelled the fresh water coming off a landmass before I could see the landmass. Would you believe it? If you're at sea for any number of days, you could actually smell fresh water on a landmass if you're attuned to it. Well, I smelled it. I woke up that morning and I wrote a poem about first things. I don't have it. God, I wish I could put my hands on it. But it was like first loves, first island, first war, that kind of thing. It was so good. I'm going to try and find it over the weekend. I think I could find it in one of my journals. I guarantee you during the break I could dig it up. That's how organized I am. If I could figure out the year, I could probably find that poem. I think you'd love it. That's why I want to find it. Okay, we're going to go for another tryout here, another audition. So you want to be a talk show host. Women, by the way, are going to be given, I think we should give women some privilege today on the Savage Nation. Why, I don't know. I mean, everyone should get a shot, but you know what? There's not a lot of women in talk radio. Laura Ingraham, she's fantastic. She's in radio. But how many other women can you name in talk radio? None. So she's terrific. She's smart. She's very, very educated. Friend of mine, friend of yours. Forget about it. No, she's a great person. This woman speaks Russian fluently. I remember I was in a Japanese restaurant with her out here in the San Francisco area a number of years ago, and some guys were at another table talking Russian, and all of a sudden, over the fish, she started rapping with them in Russian. Now, I don't know, maybe she's a spy or something. I doubt it. Now, everyone who speaks Russian is a spy. That means my grandfather was a spy, the pickle man was a spy, the butcher was a spy. To the Democrats, there's a spy in the pickle barrel. They're so insane, right? Everyone who speaks Russian is a spy to these schmucks. It's unbelievable to me. All right, let's take some of these callers, and I don't know how much longer I will be able to do this. See, I want to know here's the main thing about talk radio, just to throw it in there. There's an old rule that applies. If you're enjoying it, the audience is enjoying it. If you're not, they're not. And if you're a hateful human being, they're going to hear it. That's all they're going to hear is your hatefulness. So be very careful what you say on the radio, because everyone hears every vibration of the one or two vocal cords that you may have operational. They hear everything that you say, and they know who you are. That's why I'm so loved in radio. They actually hear my soul come through my voice. So forget about it. Let's go to the next talk show host here. Haid on line 6. Line 6. Haid, line 6. Line 6. All right, Haid, you're up. You're on the Savage Nation. Go ahead. Fire away.
You've tuned into Haiti with Why Wait. As a child, I was taught how to deal with stress and challenges through food. I remember sitting at the meal with my parents and my grandparents. We'd be eating, and we'd be discussing what would we be eating at the next meal. So I got taught...
Now, okay, Haid, two things I've got to say. It's a nice memory for you, but no one knows what the heck you were talking about nor why. In other words, what was that about? You're trying out... You're getting an audition to be a talk show host. What was it you were trying to say?
So what I was trying to say is that this is a community of men and women where we can discuss stories, dreams, strengths, and hope for the future, and it's a channel to be able to be ourselves and talk.
You mean what? In what way? I mean, so on radio?
On radio would be great.
So what do you currently do for a living?
So currently, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter. I do many, many things, but I'm also...
Are you from South Africa originally, New Zealand or Australia, or none of the above?
I'm South African originally.
Ah, I got it right. I wanted to cover my bases, but I heard South African. That's beautiful. See, my ear still is the best in the industry.
So I find...
Well, okay, that's terrific because accents are very specific, like Spanish. Puerto Rican is different than Cuban, which is different than New York Spanish, which is different than New York Harlem Spanish, which is different than California Spanish, which is different than Oakland Spanish. So there's all sorts of regional differences in all languages. And I heard that slight Dutch thing in your... Am I right? Wasn't there? Do you speak Dutch at all?
I do speak Dutch. Dr. Savage, I also find that with the modern technology that we've got, we're moving further and further out of community, and radio is one of the few ways of connecting with each other on a personal level.
That's why this is the most threatening and most dangerous medium in the world to the world oligarchs. They hate this. They'd like to put me out of business because we do draw people together in a way no one else can draw people together. I thank you so much, my Boer friend, and I don't mean B-O-R-E, my Boer friend in the most positive way. And I'm sending you a copy of Trump's War. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. It is summertime in the Savage Nation. Do you think you'd make a good talk show host? Well, you're going to get 17 seconds to prove it. Let's go for the next one. Cheech on WABC, fire away, line 5. You got 17 seconds. Go for it.
Hey, Michael, it's good to talk to you after 20-somewhat years. I don't want to be a talk show host, but I got a nice childhood memory if I could share it. Michael, you there?
All right, thanks for calling. See, here's the problem. We don't have enough time to engage. I thought that was you wanted to be a talk show host, Cheech. Childhood memory is good, too, but we got to get one more talk show host in, and we got 17 seconds to do it. So let's take another shot somewhere out there. Valerie, KSFO, line 8. So you want to be a talk show host. Go ahead, please.
Hello, caller, participants. It's good to talk to you. I'm driving in Northern California through the wine country. What a glorious afternoon.
Oh, and?
I thought
That's a very good prelude. And what do you... All right, no, that's a good prelude, but what is it you want to say to the audience other than you're driving and it's beautiful?
I was just, I really didn't have anything specific to say.
I understand. You're just goofing around and you're enjoying the show and you wanted to participate, right? Are you coming from a winery or going to a winery?
Neither. I live in wine country. I live in Santa Rosa, Sonoma County.
Oh, so that means you drink from morning till night.
And in between.
Good shot. Very good shot, Valerie. Thanks for being a great participant to the Savage Nation. Phone number I'll give you later, but Valerie gets a free copy of Trump's War. Good for what ails you. What is your favorite summer childhood memory? Do you think you'd make a good talk show host? 855-400-SAVAGE. Rock and Roll Friday. Be here or be nowhere.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
As the drive hits the deep right field, that ball is going, it is gone. Maris hitting his second homer of the day. The Yankees' sixth homer of the ball game, too short of the record of 8 in one game.
Drive your Chevrolet through the USA. America's the greatest land of all.
Well, Another Time in America. Title of my new short story in my head, Another Time in America. Did it really exist? Was there really another time in America? Aren't these the best of times and the worst of times? Aren't all times, in essence, the best of times and the worst of times? Of course they are. Every generation thinks that the past was better. Every generation thinks that the next generation is a generation of slackers and losers. It's been the same since the beginning of time. So some things don't really change. Some things do. And I could go into what's wrong with now, but you've heard that before, so I'd rather not. And since it is Rock and Roll Friday, and many people dream of being on radio, and I don't blame you. I used to dream of being on radio, and it's not an easy thing to do. In fact, many people are on radio, and many people are not on radio. Some people are on radio and not even on radio. Some people are off radio and would make great talk show hosts. Perhaps you're one of them. So if you'd like to be a talk show host, I'm going to give you what is called an audition. You're going to get 17 seconds. We're going to time you. So let me give you a few hints. In those 17 seconds, imagine you're sending an MP3 of your voice to a radio station. And the program director, let's say, reviews them, if he does, and he'll give it 7 to 17 seconds. If you don't capture him in those, he's going to toss your MP3, he'll erase it. So what do you got to do? First of all, you have to have the voice for radio. You have to have the voice for radio, whatever that may be. It either has to be musical or it has to be deep. It has to be a voice for radio. That's number one, or you'll be assigned to the ash heaps of history. You'll never be remembered for anything in radio. Unless you have the right voice for it. I'm lucky. I mean, I was born with a great voice, and I developed a voice with it. And as a result, my listeners nominated me to the National Radio Hall of Fame. I got to tell you, that's the greatest achievement of my life. You may not know that. I never talk about it, but it's an amazing achievement, and you did it. And I have to say, I ran against a guy with a show on more stations. Not a bad guy. I don't know him well. All right, we're competitors, but whatever. He's a nice guy. Politically, we're in the same league. But he didn't win. It was based upon the listeners, and you voted for me, so I want to thank you. Okay, so you want to be a talk show host, or another topic I'm running is favorite summer childhood memory. I really would like to switch that to something more controversial instead of favorite summer childhood memory. And I don't mean to be, well, I do mean to be controversial. We need to make that a little punchier. What is your, can I make it a little more risque? What is your first memory of sex in your life? Without getting graphic. See, here's the greatest challenge in the age of pornography and in the age of vulgarity, to be more specific. Can you tell us of your first sexual experience in a way that would make it of interest to anybody else? I mean, everyone has sex. Worms have sex. Bugs have sex. Elephants have sex. Humans have sex. So it's not that big a deal. I mean, people say, oh, really? You know, think about that. If you're hung up on sex, think about that. Bugs have sex, worms have sex, mink have sex, whatever. So that's not the biggest deal on earth. The trick is to tell that story without being vulgar and make it meaningful to anyone. Why would anyone want to hear about your first sexual experience? I don't know why. That's the whole thing. Can you make it captivating? That'd be like saying the first time I ate pizza. I once did that 20 years ago. I got people in Hollywood, big actors, who tell me that's their favorite show. They said they first listened to me when I said the first time I ate pizza, it smelled like vomit. I was in Pennsylvania, cousin's house, never heard of it. I heard of pizza. I didn't know what it was. I was a kid, 8, 9 years old. I was upstairs in the attic with the other kids, and everyone was talking about something downstairs that they delivered. It was new into America. It must have been 1951. I don't know what it was. And it came in this cardboard box. I smelled vomit. The first time I smelled pizza, I smelled vomit. That's how mozzarella cheese should smell, by the way. I don't know if you know it. I know you say, what? Absolutely. Good mozzarella has a certain smell that's a little off beat, by the way. The mozzarella cheese today has no scent, no smell. It's homogenized, pasteurized, Americanized. It has no flavor at all. Real pizza has that flavor. In fact, I got to tell you a funny story about mozzarella cheese that smells like vomit. About 3 weeks ago, I was coming back from L.A., and I went to the airport. The little airport, I always confuse. It's not the John Wayne Airport. It's the other one, the one in Burbank. I don't know the name of it. It's a nice little airport. I like little airports for obvious reasons. So they have a cafeteria there. So I always eat junk food at an airport for whatever reason. It gives me an opportunity to eat junk food. I never miss the opportunity to eat junk food. I generally do, but I like pizza. I'm a pizza nut. So, all right, I order a slice, a little pie. It came out, smelled just like 1952, Pennsylvania. Vomit. It was the best tasting pizza in the world. Where'd they get the mozzarella from? What is there, like a branch of the mozzarella mafia out there that had it in storage, and they just released it from like a storage bin? This stuff smelled good, tasted good. I couldn't believe it. All right, now let's go back to, so you want to be a talk show host. Let's start with Gary on KSFO in San Francisco, line 8. Gary, get the timer ready, Jim. Here we go. Gary, you're up on the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Savage. That's right, folks. Don't touch that dial. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. I've always been told that I have a voice for radio, and when I heard this, I had to call and give it a shot.
You're good. You've got a better voice than most people in radio. Now, can you follow it up with more than that? What would you do if you were given a fill-in slot on my radio show, let us say for even 1 8-minute segment? What would you do in that segment?
Oh, gosh. You calling me on a carpet here.
All right, hold on. I don't want to put you on the spot, so let me give you a hint. Do you have newspapers near you? Do you have an internet open in front of you?
I'm driving a truck, buddy.
Okay. All right, hold it. You're a truck driver. Let's do a show with you in a truck. Your name is Gary? Hi, this is Gary. I'm a truck driver. We're doing a live radio show for my moving vehicle. Let me tell you what I see outside my left window. You just do that, Gary. You got a radio show.
I see lots of greenery. I see other cars. I see people doing things in cars that they should not be doing in cars.
Gary, do you stop at truck stops in your big rig?
No, I'm mainly local. I'm home every night. I don't.
All right, so you don't have any need to look for the lounge lizards?
No.
Okay, the lot lizards, as they called them. Okay, but do they really exist, or is that an urban legend?
No, they're there.
Lot lizards. That can't be. That has to be the lowest and saddest position for a person to be in. To be a crank addict, I guess, and have to do a thing like that. Can you imagine?
They're skinky.
So anyway, Gary, that is a good voice that you have. You do have a voice for radio. That's a key thing to radio is the voice. That's the number one thing. And then you have to have something to talk about as well. Sending you a copy of Trump's War. Stay on the line. You know, I could do a whole segment right now if I wanted to switch from these topics. Let's say I feel you're bored already. Let's say I can sense the audience loves it, but it's enough already. They're already getting nervous. Their mind's wandering. They don't want to hear it anymore. If I did a segment on the different kinds of private jets, what they look like, everyone dreams of being on a private jet. Don't tell me you didn't. You know you do. You know, you see those celebs. And so what does a private jet look like? What does a Gulfstream 5? What does a Gulfstream G550 look like? What does a Bombardier look like? What does a Global Express XRS look like? What does a Challenger look like? A 300, a Challenger 600? I can't tell you, can I? I could describe it to you. My favorite private jet is one I've never been on, would be a Boeing business jet. which are converted passenger liners. They are astounding. Usually royalty have them. And United Arab Emirates, for example, love these planes. Basically, they bought big planes and converted them. And you should see the accommodations, the beds, the this, the that. That's always been a dream of mine, is to be able to sleep on a plane. I mean, what's the point? That's the only thing I want to do on a plane is sleep, to be honest with you. And to me, that's the most comfortable thing you could do, is sleep on a plane. But all right, that's my own preference. Looking out the window, okay, that's nice if you're very old or you're a child. In fact, one of my family members had a 98-year-old grandfather who actually described his first flight and how beautiful it was to him. He was 98. He was a history professor, great man, and he had never been in an airplane. We're talking about 40 years ago, and he actually sat the whole flight, looked out the window, and talked about the clouds. So, yes, you can enjoy looking out the window of an airplane if you still have the eye of a child. So I'm not going to do that segment. Do you know why? Because I just did it. Now let's go. I'm just trying to show you what you could do in a minute or less. You can talk about anything if you're interested in it. You understand you can project anything if you're interested in it. Let's take one more before a break, or a great childhood memory of a summer memory, a swing somewhere perhaps, a barbecue somewhere perhaps, when your mother was alive, when your father was alive, when your mother and father were still talking to each other. I don't know, something like that. Or the one time they talked to each other in your entire childhood without screaming or picking up a fork. If you have one of those memories. No, but if you come from an ethnic background in New York, you never have that memory of them never screaming at each other. Just think of just any of the characters in any of those movies, like the best character. I can't remember his name right now. He's terrific. He's not in the movies anymore. Joe something, whatever his name is, the Italian guy. What was that guy's name? My Cousin Vinny guy. Terrific. Huh? Joe Pesci. I love him. But Joe Pesci is an example of how people were in New York. They'd scream at each other. No one talked. For the simplest thing. Can't you get the door now? Don't you see someone's there now? What's wrong with you now? And that was what are you crazy? You got to scream at me? And the kids grew up with this. It didn't drive them crazy. They thought that's the way you communicate with people. Now they go out into the world and they talk to people outside like that, and they get into fights all the time. They don't know why people don't like them. Now, even worse, they move to San Francisco and no one understands them at all. So then they have to go into radio to meet their old friends again, and to meet the world that doesn't exist anymore except in the mind of the talk shows. You see what I'm doing for you today? Do you see what I am doing with you and for you today? I'm doing what I want to do today on Rock and Roll Friday, which is like, let's get away from the news. I mean, I have the news. I've got the headlines. I'm all lined up. I did the prep. I got the stories. I can talk about CNN for 16 more days if you'd like. Or I could talk about the Palestinian Linda Sarsour asking Muslims to form a jihad against Trump and not to assimilate. Or I can tell you about an effort to bar child marriage in California running into opposition. Or I can tell you about Malaysia and Indonesia Muslim groups calling for a boycott of Starbucks because Starbucks supports gay rights. Or I can tell you that Gorbachev urges Trump and Putin to rebuild trust. Or I can tell you about another nutty professor who belongs in a madhouse in communist China who was teaching students about the problem that is whiteness. Or I can tell you that de Blasio in New York has a real homeless policy, which is to hide the homeless problem. But I'm not going to do any of that on the Savage Nation today. Do you know why? Because I just did it in 60 seconds or less. Now you know what it is to be a talk show host. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Trash. Or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back. Don't talk back.
Clean up your room.
It's a great song in its time. We're too cynical for it today, though, you see. Stuff that worked then doesn't really work today. Everyone's cynical and sarcastic and pornographic today. And so it's very difficult to traverse the waterways, and that's why you have to have the right boat. Do you think you would make a good talk show host? That's what we're doing on the Savage Nation. We're giving you auditions. I wish more women would call. I would like to hear from some millennial women. That would be fun. We're trying to create some, some fill-in hosts. I might give you a slot on this show. You know what I love to do on the next day I'm off is actually I'd like to do, okay, so there's 3 hours. It's 12 segments. Imagine having 12 different hosts on a day that I'm off. Wouldn't that be amazing? No one does that, though. It's too complicated to manage all of that. Jim's banging his head against the microphone. I think that would be great to have like a vaudeville act on the air, to change the medium, to reinvent radio, to reinvigorate radio, to bring life back to radio, to get out of the boring doldrums. No? Yes? Maybe? Let's go to the callers. Betsy, KSFO, line 5. So you'd like to be a talk show host. Go ahead, Betsy. You got 17.
Hey, it's Glenda, your garage girl. If you really want to know what's going on under your hood, climb under it with me Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 p.m. to midnight. And don't forget to bring your underhood light. It gets pretty dark in there.
Do you have a show? Betsy, you win the prize so far. Do you have a show?
Right.
Betsy, do you have a show?
No, I was a talk show host in the mid-'90s. I'm a psychologist. I've called and interpreted your dreams for you in the past.
Uh-oh, that's very, very, very revealing. I had a really doozy of a dream now that you said dream. Watch out, here I go. Well, anyway, Betsy, that's fabulous. So would you do a car show?
I can talk about anything. I don't know a darn thing about cars, but when you announce...
Oh, you're good. Then you're perfect for radio.
What?
Then join the crowd. That would be perfect. You know nothing about your subject. What could be better?
Absolutely nothing, but I'll talk to you about carburetors for half an hour. Make me a fill-in host, Michael.
Where do you live? I mean, you live in the San Francisco area?
No, I listen online. I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, but we don't get you here because it's too liberal.
Yeah, I get it. Well, we could think about that. If you can't be a fill-in host, can you do fillings for a dentist?
I can do anything. I can even talk about fillings for half an hour.
I'll bet you could. Okay, talk about fillings for 30 seconds. Tell me, what do you know about fillings?
Did you hear about the new porcelain crowns that just came on? Market?
Let me ask you, Betsy. Betsy, are you currently married?
You want me to go on?
No, I want to ask you, are you currently married?
No, and I'm looking for someone. I'm a Savagette looking for my Savage, and you and I are both Aries, Michael. So I'm the female.
So let's start with this. What's your age bracket?
Oh, God. I'm looking for someone about 8 years younger. I just turned 6'2", and I look great. It's such a shame to have to say my age.
No, well, I shouldn't have asked, but I mean, that's the first thing people ask for, don't they, on dating sites?
Yes, and it's unfortunate, and that's why I'm not on any dating site.
Well, isn't there a dating site? No, you have to have age. I don't know how to get around that. What you want to date a guy 30 years old?
I'd love to be a fill-in for you.
No, I asked you, would you like to date a 30-year-old? You're not being nice now.
No, 58 would be good.
Stay on the line, Betsy. We'll get in touch with you, right?
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Every night I hope and pray a dream lover will come my way. A girl to hold in my arms and know the magic of her charms. 'Cause I want
Yep.
girl.
Next thing you know, you're screaming at each other over the barbecue pit. Child needs dental work. The other one's in rehab. But that's just the way of all flesh. You know, I once had a professor. I got to tell you this story. It just came back to me since I'm just rapping out here on the Savage Nation with doing all sorts of good stuff. It's Friday, you know what I'm saying? I remember I was in college. So I was in college, whatever, first year, second year, who remembers, Queens College. I had a crazy professor. We loved him to death. He was a brilliant math teacher. I think he was like Iraqi or Iranian. Who knew? No one really knew. He was just a nice guy. And he was like a mad professor, looked like Peter Sellers. So in the middle of with the blackboard, with the chalk, with the equations, with the calculus, he turns around And he starts rapping about his marriage. He says, who knew what happened to me? Out of nowhere, he starts in. We were like stunned. I mean, no one did those things in the years I went to college. He said, I got to tell you, who knew what happened to me? He said, I don't know. I fell in love with someone. She was gorgeous. The next thing I knew, the flash bulbs were going off. The next thing I knew, she was screaming at me. We had children, and it was a divorce. He said, I don't even know how it happened. In some ways, he was actually a brilliant math teacher because he taught us about the theory of relativity. Number one, he also taught us about the speed of light and the fundamental rules of thermodynamics when you think about it in his own little way. I think that's why his mind skipped a beat now that I'm looking back upon it. But only those in physics would understand that joke because it really isn't a joke, I think, a reality shot. No? Yes? Maybe? Boy, that espresso is really getting right down into the cerebral stuff. Let's go back to those who want to be a talk show host in the Savage Nation and those who have great childhood memories. KBOI, Gary, line 5. So you want to be a talk show host. Go ahead, Gary. You got 17 seconds.
Okay, I got to tell you, I'm nowhere. I'm the nowhere. You got be there or be nowhere. I am nowhere. You don't want to hear about my life. You don't want to hear about nothing about me. But I tell you what, you do want to hear Michael Savage. Been trying to get him as a host. It is almost like pulling teeth. But let me tell you.
All right. Now, what do you mean by trying to get Mike Savage is like pulling teeth? What does that mean? Getting on the radio or listening but finding the show?
Getting him as a guest on my show. I'm so glad that you made it.
Oh, I see. It's a shtick. It's a shtick. You're making believe you're a talk show host and you can't get me as a guest. Very nice, Gary. You get a copy of How to Be a Talk Show Host along with Trump's War. I haven't written that one yet. I remember another thing I'm thinking about now. When I was a kid, I was a dreamer. I was always a dreamer. Oh, I'm looking back now. So in the back of magazines, I would see, so you want how to be an artist. You remember those ads? Crazy ads. Like when I was 8 years old, there were one set of ads I would look at. When I was 12, it was another. And then when I was a young teenager dreaming about what to be or not knowing what to be or not to be, whether to be at all, there were ads on how to be I think it was like how to be an artist, or do you want to be an artist? Some creep up in, some con man up in Connecticut had this out of his barn, and he gave you lessons. You paid a certain amount of money, and he sent you lessons on how to be an artist. I don't know if anyone ever did that, but there were all sorts of things like that in the backs of magazines. I don't have to tell you what they had in the back of the Village Voice, because it's a family show, and it still belongs in the back of the Village Voice next to the Pierce Your Ears ads. But those were interesting ads in those days when you think about it. So you want to be an artist. What if I started an ad in the back of a magazine that said, so you want to be a talk show host? If I were a con man and I needed the money, I wanted to con you out of money, you know how many people would sign up for that with like lessons and tapes? Don't ever sign up for anything like that, because I'm going to give you a little hint. You can't learn certain things. Certain things you either have or you don't have. Or as Shakespeare said, some men are born great, some men are made great, and some men have greatness foisted upon them. It's that simple. Now, of course, you can learn, but you have to have an inherent talent in a certain area. It's the same with anything. It's like, let's say you're a painter. You can take all the lessons in the world, but unless you have this innate gift, you're not going to really be a fine painter. You might be able to make paintings that are interesting, but they're not going to be great. They lack what the Spanish call duende in music, which means spirit. It's the same thing in any art. Duende. It's the same in talk radio. And either you have this duende or you don't have it. It's that simple. So no one can really teach you this particular field. It's like anything else. I think it has to be in you. And, of course, you can perfect your skills in any field, no matter who you are. If you're a fine artist, you go to school to be a finer artist or a better artist, get more control and get more control over what you're trying to achieve once you have all the skills to do so. It's the same in anything else. And so I don't think you should ever buy an ad in the back, go for an ad in the back of a magazine which says, learn how to be a talk show. It's only $99 a month for the next 12 months. Don't do it, because I don't think you're ever going to get a job in this field, nor do you want to get it, because let me tell you that. You want me to talk about the future of talk radio? That would be fun. That would be a fun show to do someday, but I don't think I want to do it right now, because people are saying talk radio is not fashionable, or talk radio is not going to last, or people have gone on to other mediums. You know what? I got to tell you something. I'm very bullish on talk radio for one reason, and one reason only. It is the most personal of all of the outlets in media. You're not going to get this in television. You're not going to get it on the internet. And those of you who listen to talk radio, you know about the intimacy factor, right? You become attached to the show you're listening to. In other words, if you love me, let's say, or love me or hate me, you listen to me. I'm a part of your mental geography. You got to hear me on a regular basis to feel it like there's a geography that you understand. It's like a familiarity, a neighborhood. For example, when I used to travel a lot more than I do now, when I would come back to the San Francisco area after not listening to radio for what it was, a week or whatever, I'd have the cab driver turn on the radio so I could listen to the local hosts on the opposite station, where I started, KGO. And the minute I heard somebody, whether it be at night, I felt like I was home. Do you understand that? And it's the same with me. I got people here in my community or in your community, but especially in my community, who I never met, never will meet, who disagree with me politically, who have to listen to me because I'm a part of their mental geography. I'm part of their community. And so, as I say to you, this is something that's beautiful to have and something that I want to thank all of you for giving to me. Because remember this, the number one thing to remember is without an audience, everything else is worthless, correct? And the audience is everything. So you have to remember to, well, first of all, how to reach the audience. That's inherent. And it's innate, rather. It's either innate in you or you're never going to do it. You're going to fake it. You're going to get fake callers, or you're going to have fake callers, or you're going to have the same callers or regular callers. And just getting a caller saying you're wonderful, you're a genius, or great, that's not talk radio. I don't listen to that. I'd rather people not call me and ask me how I am. I don't want you to tell me I'm wonderful. I'd rather debate arguments with you when I'm doing arguments, or like today. So you want to be a talk show, so you're playing the game. Or do you have a great childhood memory? You're playing the game. That's good radio to me. And that's why I'm doing this. This show that I am doing for you today, on this summer day, on this quiet summer day, on this week of quietude in the media, incidentally, is, some would say, a classic radio show. And I would say that's probably why I was nominated to the National Radio Hall of Fame, because it's very daring, number one, very risky, number two, and almost impossible to repeat. I could never do it again. First of all, I have to be in the mood to do it. That's the first rule. You have to be in the mood to do a show like this. Number two, you just got to catch the wave and ride the wave. Now, before I go back to your callers, I got to tell you about something that I do advertise in this show for real, and it's based upon the fact that I have a passion for a healthy lifestyle, which you know, and that includes clean eating, and Super Beets is one of the most impressive functional foods that I ever found, which is why I talk about them, because we're talking about blood flow, blood flow, blood flow. You heard about beets. You know they're loaded with dietary nitrates. You know they convert to nitric oxide in the body. You know by now that nitric oxide helps support healthy circulation and healthy blood pressure levels. And you've heard that Super Beets is the most convenient way to get these dietary nitrates to specifically help support healthy blood flow and circulation. I've told you about it. I've also said that Super Beets works 3 times faster to give you results you can feel. I've told you it tastes great. I told you I take Super Beets every day. I told you I can feel the energy and stamina it gives me within 20 minutes, and I frankly want you to feel it too. So to get a 30-day supply free, it comes with your first order. It is backed by a money-back guarantee. You're also going to receive a free book, Beat the Odds. You're going to get free nitric oxide indicator strips, and you will see the difference for yourself. You also get free shipping. It's simple. You're going to love the results you feel. It is guaranteed, or you get your money back. All you got to do is call 800-481-0504. That's 800-481-0504, or go to SavageLovesBeats.com. That's SavageLovesBeats.com. Well, I'm flying high on this audition show of So You Want to Be a Talk Show Host. One of the main reasons is because it's Friday, thank God. It was a short week. I mean, I was off Monday. We had a fill-in, great guy. Tuesday was a best of. Most people are not even back from vacation, believe it or not. A lot of people are still traveling. But, you know, even in traveling, they're listening to shows streaming. And so they don't even miss their shows in many ways, and not maybe as intently as before. And so they want to be connected and plugged into the voices that they're familiar with. And I want to thank you for listening to the show and for making this show the #1 streaming radio show in the United States of America. Don't be fooled. Statistics don't lie. And I want to thank my audiences across America, and most particularly today, WABC in New York with this show. This show is still #1 on that station in the talk show slot, which is a huge achievement, considering it's on in the drive time slot, which is the most competitive slot in the world. I got to get back to New York. I got to do some shows out of the other stations. I have a couple of friends in the media who say, Michael, come on, you know, you're stuck there, out there in that in that San Francisco area. You never leave it. There's no reason to leave, but you know what? There is a reason to leave. I want to go to New York. I want to do the show out of ABC. I want to go down to Florida, do the show out of FTL. I want to go to my affiliates across America. Wouldn't that be great, like a whistle-stop tour of a different city every day? Sure, I'd be dead in about 3 days if I did 3, 4, 5 cities in a row. I don't do it. I don't like to do it. I don't want to do it. Even when I was a struggling author and I did 10-city tours. Now, those are some great stories. 1972, think about this. My first major commercial book was published, Earth Medicine, Earth Foods. By the way, it's still in print, I think, all these years later. It's in many editions. I did that book with the greatest passion you could imagine about American Indian remedies and foods. All right, whatever. So Macmillan published it at that time. And in those days, there were things called author tours. It was what they did. The publishers invested money in a radio and TV tour across America. Depending upon the book and how much money they wanted to put in it, you either got a 3-city tour, a 5-city tour, or a 10-city tour. So I often got these 10-city tours. They were the most grueling things you could ever imagine. No, but when you're young, you think it's kind of exciting. You know, you land in Seattle, and you take the cab, and you go to the hotel, and you got the meal, and this and that. But it's very lonely. It's horrible. It's the death of a salesman, and I ain't no Willie Loman. So let's go back to the callers here on the Savage Nation. So you want to be a talk show host, eh? Let's take some of those callers on the Savage Nation. But first, we're going to go to David on WPBQ with you. Guess what? His first sexual experience. This is cold, not screened by me. I hope it's clean. David, line 3, go ahead, please. What was your first sexual experience?
Well, let's just say the whistle blew before the train came into the station.
That is so American. That is such a great line. I love that one. I don't even understand it, but I know it's funny.
Oh, come on. Don't tell me you don't understand that, Doc.
I do. I got it. That was very well put. Where'd you get that verbiage from?
Me, myself, and I. It's a gift.
I'm writing that one down. Hold on. The whistle. I'm writing it down. That's a good line. The whistle blew before the train came into the station. That's very good. I don't think that any members of ISIS would understand that one. Do you think they'd understand it?
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I like to drive a Hellcat.
What's it like to drive a Hellcat?
Yeah.
Hold on. Hold it. Before the train came into the station. I think I'm going to look at that all weekend and try to figure it out. And I got the answer to that one. That's very funny. Well, I'll tell you. Here it is what like to drive that 710 horsepower car. It's impossible to keep on the road unless you feather the accelerator because you're going to burn rubber. Now, you could be doing 60 miles an hour in that car, and you just floor that thing. You're going to fishtail at 70 miles an hour. That's how much horsepower there is in that thing. It's awesome, David. It's the most powerful production car at the time made. Now they make a new one called the Demon, I hear, which is not even street legal. Can you believe that? I mean, what's going to happen next? They're going to put a nitro kit in the trunk? I don't know what you need it for. It's awesome, David. I highly recommend the Dodge Hellcat. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Sounds good. The old hog firing up. Old Savage Nation tune, man. That brings back so many KSFL memories. All those afternoons. Summer into fall into winter into spring. Summer, fall, winter, spring, over and over. So there's headlines now. Melania learns Trump only has eyes for Putin at G20. Weird. Now, that's a big deal. What does that mean? He's trying to settle a problem with Russia. That's also a problem to the psychos in the liberal media. What they want, war? A fist fight? Schmuck. But thinking about that, what if Melania had eyes for Putin? Then that'd be some story. What if Melania ran off with Putin? That would be a horrible. What if Trump ran off with Merkel? I think that's unlikely. I don't see how that could happen. The only thing Merkel could run off with doesn't exist. It's a combination of a dinosaur, an alligator, and Karl Marx's corpse. I don't think that exists yet. Well, who else? Is Henry Kissinger there? He must be there. He's like the Zelig of... He's always like smiling in the background, trying to meddle like the Metternich of our time. Who's there at the G20? What is a G20? I guess that's a big thing to be at the G20. Makes you a world leader. I was G20. You get like a badge. You come back, what? You don't have to go to the bathroom? You know, your teeth don't go bad? I was at the G20. So, and Hank, what? And what? You never get indigestion, Hank? You don't get constipated, Hank? So what am I going to say to you? Well, look, it's the world leadership. They're the ones who shape the course of human events, unfortunately. So my guys, my girls, it's the Savage Nation. You think you'd be a good talk show host? I got a real treat for you, my friends on the love boats of their minds. I'm going to be back in a very short period of time. If you want to play with me, what's your favorite summer childhood memory? 855-407-28. I wish I could get some, like, heavy guys calling during this show. Some forget about it callers. You know what I'm saying?
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, the Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
There's a moon out tonight.
Oh, it's going to be a great summer weekend.
Let's go strolling.
It is going to be beautiful. Teddy and me. It's like Home Alone. Home Alone, Teddy and me. Like long. Like 72 hours of hell. You got to fill it in somehow. I mean, I don't have radio. This is 3 hours a day, 15 hours a week. I fly like an eagle. And the rest of the week, you know, you're just back in the mire. You're just emoting the mire like you always are, like everyone else is, struggling, this and that, trying to lift yourself up and get up into the altitudes again. I'm not at the G20 meeting. A, I don't have a blue suit. Me, I don't lead a country, and I don't have those black shoes with those socks. But it's terrific that they're there and they're getting along, and then Russia and the U.S. are shaking hands again. I heard that Angela Merkel was seen in the back of a pickup truck with a MAGA hat with Janet Reno speeding off to Dusseldorf, but we can't confirm that or deny it. We just heard it through the grapevine. Welcome to the Savage Nation. We're continuing. Do you think you'd make a good talk show host? And if you think you would, you got 17 seconds to get on this show and just fire away. By the way, during the break, I had some fun. As you well know, I've had a Twitter account forever. I never use it. Over the years, hardly went on it. But since Trump was tweeting, I decided to tweet. Now, I got into it, and my friend told me you can go to Periscope on Twitter and do a live thing. I just did one during the break. So if you want to see the studio I'm in right now, where I am broadcasting from, I'm still shocked by the technology. Because my assistant, Ryan, I said, let's just try it. So he did Periscope on Twitter, and there in the studio and me narrating. There's the chair, my broadcast chair, and I offer it to you for $12,000. Or you can buy one at Office Depot for $59. The same exact chair. But there it is. There's a studio. The screens, the drums, the pictures. I hope there's nothing too revealing in this. No, it couldn't be because Teddy's away at the groomer, so what can I reveal? I can't believe the technology we have today. So I can now go around with my iPhone this weekend, for example, and anytime I want to reach my viewers, all I got to do is do a little feed. Like here I am in a restaurant. The food sucks. I'm sending back the prosciutto again because it's like the skin on a bongo drum. And here's the waiter coming over saying, why'd you do it again? That's going to be a hell of a weekend. Or I could drive the car and pick it up like, a Hollywood starlet, slip on a banana peel and reveal myself. You could see how you can get addicted to this crap. I'm telling you, it's real, like, childish stupidity. This stuff is like cocaine, I guess. I mean, you could see why people get hooked on this. You got nothing else in your life? That's all you got to do is pick up a thing and look at yourself and put it up there? Yes. Yes. This is what we mean by all is vanity. This is what the Gospels meant when he said all is vanity. This is what the rabbis meant when they said a man could spend his whole life building up his reputation and one mistake ruin it. So be very careful with your Twitter. That's all I could tell you, because you never know what you never know what you're liable to show that you don't want to show. So the safe thing to do in radio is just talk about Democrats and Republicans 3 hours a day, 15 hours a week for 15 years. It works. Apparently people want to hear that. They can't get enough of it. Just say Democrats bad, Republicans bad. I don't like either of them, but I'm really not for them. I'm really not against them. And do that every day, day in and day out. That's all. That's all people want to hear. Good. God bless you if that's what you want to hear, but that's not what I do. And that is why I am in the National Radio Hall of Fame as a talk show host, because I don't do that. I do something very unique. And today we're doing a one-off show that I may not ever do again. How to do you think you would make a good talk show host? Or what is your favorite summer childhood sex memory? I changed it from childhood memory. That guy called. He was funny. He had a great American accent. He caught me off guard. He said, Mike, I want to tell you about my first memory of sexuality. I said, okay, be careful. It's a family show. And he said, well, Mike, the whistle blew before the train came into the station. That's good. I never saw it anywhere. I never read it anywhere. That's Americana. I guarantee you Al-Qaeda doesn't understand it. Now let's go to the callers on the Savage Nation. Let's go to Linda on KLIF in Dallas, Texas. Linda, what's your great summer childhood story?
Okay, it has a spanking involved in all of this, but but it actually was a really cool thing.
Now, Linda, please, this is a family show. Are you mixing up a childhood memory with a sexual story, or are they separate or the same?
It's a childhood story. Let me tell you, this is the 70s, so I'm a kid, and it's the 4th of July, and I'm in Alice, Texas, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but it's like a desert in Alice, right? And we're in my grandpa's backyard, and I have a sparkler, you know, the stick with the...
Oh, are you kidding? Even I, a kid from New York, had sparklers.
Sparklers, right? So I thought, here I'm like 8 or 9 years old, I thought, wouldn't it be cool to toss it up in the air and just... For some reason, that made perfect sense to me, but it got caught up in a mesquite tree that was very dry. It's July in Alice, Texas.
Oh, no. You caused a fire on your grandpa's farm?
Oh, and so my Uncle Johnny, who I absolutely adore, he pulled me over real quick and swatted me on the butt and said, you don't throw sparklers in the trees.
And where is Uncle Donnie today? I assume he's in heaven?
He's still alive. He's in San Antonio, Texas. And
is he listening to you on the Michael Savage Show right now?
You know, he probably is. He's pretty conservative. If they run it in San Antonio, I wouldn't be surprised.
So now, why do you think that memory stays with you?
A couple of reasons. Because I was just telling my kids this the other day about respect. And I said, you know, today, if your uncle or somebody else outside of your mom or dad were to spank you, well, even if it's just to spank you, you would sue, you know, for abuse.
Right.
For me, I just felt immense respect for him, you know, and it taught me a lesson about just not being reckless, and, you know, you have to be careful.
So do you have discipline issues or not?
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. And I've raised 2 really great kids. So
Did you spank them when you raised them, or you didn't have to?
Yes, I did. Up until they were probably like 5 or 6.
35? You spanked until they were what, 35?
Until they were 5 or 6.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was a break in the transmission. All right. That's a beautiful story. I'm sending you Trump's War because it's the best thing I got to offer you. I appreciate your call and playing the game. But now we're going to go to people who want to be a talk show host. They're going to get 17 seconds or less to do a tryout on the show. We're giving you an audition. I wish that you took a shot at this. Everyone's probably thinking tonight, gee, I should have done it. We're going to leave one open line on the show to get someone else up here. A couple of people are waiting, like everybody. I don't know who to take, but we're looking for women in particular. Let's go to a couple of nice women out there who want to give this a shot. Sophia, KBOI Radio, line 6. Get ready now, Jim. Get the egg timer ready. So, Sophia, you want to be a talk show host, huh? Fire away on the Savage Nation.
I do, and I want to take some callers today about the trend in this country away from secularism, and I want to hear your personal conversion story. I don't care about your denomination. That is not important. I want to know what...
Now, what do you mean by your conversion? From secularism to religion?
Correct.
So you could do a religious broadcast for sure, no question about it. You've got the energy, you got the brains, and you got the voice.
Thank you.
You do. And I mean, this is not a religious show. It's a generic potpourri of ideas, to put it in a different manner. But, Sophia, thank you so much. I'm giving you a copy of Trump's War. See what I mean? I said voice, brains, and she has the passion, too. That's another thing you have to have for radio. You can't hoodwink your audience. If you're not really into it, they're going to hear it. If you're just calling it in, they're going to hear it. If you're just mailing it in, they're going to hear it. If you're faking it, they're going to hear it. If you're repeating yourself every day, they're going to hear it. If you're enthusiastic, they will be enthusiastic along with you. It's that simple. I don't know how to pronounce the next person who was calling, but Jolene on KSFO Radio. Jolene, are you ready? Jim, are you ready? All right, Jolene, so you want to be a talk show host. Go ahead on the Savage Nation.
Good afternoon, America. Well, it's finally Friday. This is at Jolene 8, coming to you from the sunny and psychotic Southern California left coast on KSFO, where it's another delicious day of the
Oh, that's brutal. That is a brutal. What city do you actually live in, Jolene?
Riverside.
And you're listening to me online, I assume.
Yes, sir. And I was talking with your screener. I took my lunch break, and I was excited to get in and talk to the great...
Well, you have a very pronouncedly strong voice. Have you done any announcing in your life?
I have not done any announcing, but I have sung in bands and church and done jingles.
Yeah, you've got a tenor. You know, I don't mean tenor voice. You have a certain tenor to your voice that is very, very attractive, and I think it would work. It would work definitely in radio, Jolene. So I'm sending you Trump's War for giving it a shot and being such a good sport. You know, during the show, I did something I have never done in my life. Done a lot of things today I haven't ever done in my life, like enjoy myself for 2.5 hours so far. This is like a world record. And I took a picture of my mother, of blessed memory, off the, like a cabin. I don't know why. She had a great sense of humor. So I have a picture of her when she was still around. But here she is on her 65th birthday, September 1980. She was a lot younger than I remember her. Happy, smiling. She has I have her eyes for sure. And I think she gave me her sense of humor. I'm pretty sure she did. At least I developed my sense of humor because of her. So, Mom, thank you very much from heaven. I hope you're entertaining God and making him nice meals because he deserves it. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
But my real name is girl.
Still the greatest horn in the world. I don't know, this horn still does it for me. Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Who was that? Who was playing that saxophone in that song? Anyway, we're doing this stuff. We're doing the memories. We're doing So You Want to Be a Talk Show Host. There is no news. We're going to bash CNN again? Bash Democrats again? Mention Hillary Clinton again? I don't think so. Great. Trump and Putin are getting along. Isn't that wonderful? It's wonderful for everybody but the psychos who want to start a war. All those who wouldn't fight in the war, but your son will go and die. Okay, that's what goes on. So we're not going to talk about it again. We know what the story is. Thank God we have a strong American leader who understands that peace is the most important thing to achieve, number one, and that safety is the most important thing for the people. What more do you need? Well, okay, the economy, but it's all tied into safety. That's all there is to it. Without an economy that works, there is no safety. Anyway, I'm not going to do the news. There's no point in doing it. I'm talking about Wimbledon, beef at Wimbledon. Your dad keeps coughing during my serve. How could you pay attention? Whatever. How to combat sweat and thigh chafing during running. This is in the New York Post. Jilted lover fills his car with propane and slams it into his ex-girlfriend's apartment. Psycho. I heard about someone who once put a hose in the mailbox of his ex-girlfriend's house. Oh, God, I heard about that one. Yeah, this guy got, divorced. She had a boyfriend. He came back to the condo that she got, and he put a hose, a garden hose, through the mail slot and flooded the apartment. People do such crazy things. I mean, human emotions, So, I'm asking you for memories now. I haven't gotten a bad one. You imagine a bad one? I imagine, what if I got a call, like, from a guy who said to me, I'll make it up now. Okay. Hey, Mike, I want to be a talk show host. My name is John Scungili from Bayonne, New Jersey. Hey, how you doing, John? What's happening? So what's your memory back there? Well, it's not a good memory, but it is a childhood memory, Mike. It's the first time I went out with my father to do you know what, Mike, what we do over there in Bayonne. Well, you see, he took me to a place we own, a factory, one of those beaten-up factories out by the railroad tracks. And it was the first time he actually cut someone up. Now, I got to tell you, I was 15 years old. I thought I'd be intimidated, but you know what? I actually liked it, Mike. The sound of the saw wasn't as bad. It sounded like a butcher shop. Now, it's true, the blood splattered everywhere. It got me a little sick. But, Mike, you get used to it. Then we went out for a pie. You put a little anchovy on it, and the smell goes away, Mike. It wasn't that bad. That was my childhood memory. I haven't gotten one of those yet. I was expecting it any minute, but we didn't get any of those callers. So if you would like to be a talk show host, let's try you out. Pete on WABC, line 5. Go ahead, please, Pete. You are on the Savage Nation. Hit the egg. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Wait, Pete, go ahead. Wait, 1, 2, 3. Go now, Pete, please.
Oh, gosh, Mike.
Oh, yeah, I can't answer you.
Is he with the fishes? The Putin really go into our voting? Oh, gosh, what's going on, Mike?
I like your voice.
Well, yeah.
So let me ask you something. What would you like to say to the audience today, Pete?
No, I like Trump. He's doing a great job.
Are you, Pete, are you enjoying the program today?
What's that?
Are you enjoying my show today?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
All right, because it's a little nostalgia. So what's your best childhood memory before you became a gangster?
I didn't see any guns.
All right, no, really. Do you have any good memories in your life, or they're all bad and dark and horrible?
Yeah. No, I lived in upstate New York, and I was at a park. I was swimming on a swing. And I'll tell you, the best thing I like about my childhood memories, it's sound very weird, is the smell of fresh cut grass.
Yes, chlorophyll. There's nothing like chlorophyll in the morning. Pete, you're a great sport. Thanks for calling. We're sending you a copy of Trump's War. There is nothing like the smell of fresh cut grass unless you have allergies. Then you're cursed with the smell of fresh cut grass and roses. Everything. That's a curse, isn't it? Can you imagine? I love roses and I can't be around them. I get sick from them. But I was thinking about that. I was thinking about this just the other day about, like, is it really the roses or is it the memories associated around the roses in the backyard of my little house when I was a kid in Queens? You know what I'm saying? That whole negative conditioning thing, like you associate the rose with the pot roast on the wall dripping down after the parents fight. So is it the memories or is it the roses themselves? It's hard to say, given that we are so complex as human beings, but I still love roses. I got to tell you, and I don't let the pot roast dripping down the wall deter me from looking at the beauty of a rose. I must tell you that. Well, we're almost out of time in this segment on the Savage Nation. Again, if you want an audition and you want to be a talk show host, we will continue this right up to the end of my program, which will be back here with you in a few minutes. There's one open line at 855-407-282. This is the Savage Nation. Back in a minute.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Bye-bye love, bye-bye happiness, hello loneliness, I think I'm gonna cry. Bye-bye love.
Welcome back to the Savage Nation. So, just to do the news for a second. Hello, emptiness, right? All right, G20 summit. So listen to this headline. U.S.-Russia announced Syria ceasefire after Trump-Putin talks. That, to me, is like Nobel Prize. That is the biggest news of our current life. And so the media is now going crazy, saying Trump meets Putin. Talk of positive results, not of election. This is how sick the left wing is in America. This is how mentally ill they are. I've told you liberalism is a mental disorder. They've announced a ceasefire in Syria. That's not good enough for the morons. Not of the election. They want to go back to their false narrative of the election meddling when there was none. You hear this? How sick those people are? Liberalism is truly a mental disorder. That's why I'm doing this show today, which is so you want to be a talk show host. Because what, I'm going to beat that up now for 3 hours? I made a point. U.S.-Russia announced Syria ceasefire after Trump-Putin talks. I gave you my editorial with it. Now we move on? Or I could do it for 3 years if you want, every day. Every day we do the same thing. You look at that Merkel, man. She has a face on her, and I don't mean to be in any way dismissive of the horrors of the Nazi era. If I were, let us say, a director, and I was casting for a lead operative of a concentration camp, she'd be in charge of the female guards. This woman could stop a steamroller that lost its brakes. I never saw a face like her. You talk about a horror. It's like a horror movie looking at this woman. And her soul is worse than her face, or do I say the face represents what her soul really is? All right, let's take some calls because I don't want to get too agitated. It's almost the end of the show in 25 minutes. Boom, bang. Weekend, Saturday, Sunday, God knows, long time, hot, this and that. Got to fill in the blank space like an empty canvas, like an empty sheet. Not that easy to do when life itself has so many pitfalls. It's not the same as a piece of paper. You make one mistake on the canvas of life, and there you go down the cliff. All right, let's take some childhood memories, some talk shows, wannabes on the Savage Nation. Who's the best here? I don't know who to take. I want to do people who want to be talk show hosts. Who do we have the best possible? Okay. Giovanna? Okay, Giovanna on KSFO. So, you want to be a talk show host. Go ahead, Giovanna. You're on the Savage Nation.
And do you know that every problem in life, from sex to other issues, can all be correlated with Italian food? Now, taste the cannoli. Depending upon the sexual issue, depends on how the cannoli is made. We won't go into the elaboration of it, but
You got my curiosity. Now, let's elaborate. You got my curiosity. Now, how does a cannoli relate to sexual activity?
Oh, boy. Well...
no, you're not saying that you can roll it in different forms before you boil it, are you? Like you make the dough into many shapes? That's not what you're saying, are you?
And the dough can be kind of soft, but it has to be made in a certain way.
No, but can you make a cannoli look like something other than what a cannoli normally looks like?
Of course I can.
I mean, I could roll it to look like something else, like a male body part or a female body part?
Well, it depends upon who's asking for. But I grew up on Arthur Avenue, so of course I know how to make it.
No, but I'm saying, let's say I came to your kitchen, I was drinking some wine and joking around, and you're rolling the dough. So you could roll the dough in any form and then boil it, and would it hold that form?
Yes, it will. It absolutely will.
Oh, my God. I never know. I really never thought of it. To me, a cannoli is a cannoli is a cannoli. I had no idea you could make it into something else.
A cannoli is multiple. It has multiple dimensions to it, Michael.
Does it have multiple meanings, a cannoli, or are you just eating a piece of dough with something in it?
Of course it has multiple meanings. It can be very sweet.
You just sounded like Nancy Pelosi for a minute. Are you sure this is not Nancy Pelosi calling under a fake voice?
No, I can't stand that woman.
No, you just for a second, I swear to God, I thought she wanted to be a talk show host. And she also wanted to get in on the act after she left Congress. That's what they all want to do, is they all want to be on the radio.
Don't insult me by even thinking that I sound like her.
No, I'm sorry. There you did it again. For a second. Okay, you could be cousins. Now, you said you grew up on Arthur Avenue. For those who don't know, that's a very Italian district in the Bronx, New York. Are you in New York right now, and you calling from online KSFO, or where do you reside?
I am first and foremost at Savage Ed, and I live in Fairfax.
Oh, my God. How do you live in that town?
because I live around people that think as we do, and there are a lot of people out here that do think that.
In Fairfax, California, I mean, that's a town without pity. I lived there for 13 years. It was a daily crucifixion.
These people are nuts out here, but fortunately I have...
Well, I know one guy who's an ex-Navy SEAL. He's a great man, but how many people do you know out there who have brains?
Probably about 5 of them.
Well, that's enough of a community. In that community, in that liberal community, you found 5 friends? You're a lucky woman.
Yes.
So what do? You get together for cannoli parties out there or what?
We have cannoli parties. We also have pasta fasul parties.
Are they all women, or is it all women and men, or a mixture?
I can't stand being around all women. They would drive me nuts. No, there's women and men.
Interesting. So what kind of wine do you drink when you're making cannoli?
I like red wine.
I know red, but what kind of red?
Other wines, I like it Zinfandel.
A Zinfandel, interesting. Well, I got to admire the fact that in the midst of that liberalism, you found some friends and you enjoy it, because the countryside itself is magnificent. The Ross Valley is awesome. It's hot out there right now, right? Like you got 95 degrees probably in that valley.
Really hot.
Well, look, I got to tell you, Giovanna, you're a Savageette for how many years, Giovanna?
Oh, my gosh. It has to be at least 18 years.
Oh, my God. You see the loyalty of my listeners? Kisses, kisses, kisses. Giovanna, I'm sending you Trump's war. I wish there was a way for us to get together and have a glass of wine and watch you make some cannoli in the form of human anatomy. This is the Savage Nation. Stay on the line. I'll be right. No, I'm not going to a break. My call screener got a kick out of that one. Could you make a nose, like a cannoli nose? Or like a fake Groucho cannoli nose for a kid to... Imagine what... in the old days, the grandmas probably rolled the dough and the kids played with it and the grandma made funny little figures out of it. I could just imagine the movie scene on that one. If I were doing a movie on an Italian years ago in New York or whatever, it would be that, a grandmother smiling with the big rolling pin, and she'd roll something in the form, let's say, of a fake nose, not to be obscene. And she'd turn around, and the kids wouldn't know what Grandma's making, and she'd put a fake nose on it. And Grandma could have the nose. God, what a beautiful memory that would be. Well, maybe one day, who knows, in another world, another dimension, that will be happening. Phil on KSFO. So, Phil, are you ready? Jim, are you ready? You got the egg timer ready? So, Phil, you want to be a talk show host now? Well, fire away on the Savage Nation.
All right. Well, hey, my message to the American people is this. We find ourselves at a unique point in human history where, indeed, we have the opportunity for the people of reason to stand and fight and defeat those who carry the strength of their argument and the volume of their voices and the violence of their deeds. We need Mr. Trump.
I'll tell you what's right and what's wrong with it from my perspective as a professional in the field. You have a clear message. You articulate it well, but it's a little too preachy. It's not engaging. It's an editorial. It's not an engaging statement that would have a listener call. This is the hardest thing to do in radio, is to think of a subject that is both newsworthy, current, interesting, and that will stop a person driving around in a car somewhere and make them, their heart will start to pound, or they'll get so agitated they're going to pick up a phone and want to call you on one hand, or they're having so much fun with you on the show that they're going to say, yeah, let me call that guy. That sounds like fun. In other words, a way to engage them. And what you just said, while it is intelligent and certainly intellectually appealing in some way, it doesn't engage the audience. So thank you for trying. I certainly appreciate that. That's the whole difference, is you got to engage. Hook. What's the hook? What's the hook? And I'm not looking for a job. I'm trying to give people some ideas about what to do to get into this whole thing here now. We got Sandy now on KBET in Las Vegas, Nevada. Sandy, are you ready? Jim, are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Sandy on line 8. Go ahead. You're on the Savage Nation.
Sandy from hot Las Vegas. And even though the elites say that the economy is booming, 41% of baby boomers have no retirement savings. And what I want to do today is have you call in and let me know what your passion is or your hobby is.
Okay, you're very good, because you came up with a question for the audience to engage them, but you went from a statement about the economy to a statement about a hobby. How does that work?
Well, turning a hobby into a business. So.
All right. So what you would have rewritten it and said, Tell me what your hobby is, and I'll tell you how to make it into a business. And I'll show you how to build a big retirement fund just by turning your hobby into a business, right? That's what you were doing.
Pretty much.
Well, you see, this is the thing. Now, what do you do for an actual a living?
I manufacture a product that helps people make bows. I've always been an entrepreneur since I was a little kid.
Help people make what?
Bow. It's a bow maker. It lets anybody, like you.
Wait, you mean like a bow and arrow bow?
No, like a bow for presents or trees or hair bows. We sell, I can say the name of it, we sell it at like Michael's, Walmart. But what I want to do is I want to teach people how to take a hobby without spending a fortune and turn it into a business. And
well, you know what? You have a good weekend show. That's what you should start with. You should make an MP3 and send it to your local radio station. Tell them you'd like to do a weekend show to start with, let's say an hour or two, and see how that works out. You might have a little sub-career there. I'd recommend it highly. I'm sending you a copy of Trump's War. Thanks for playing the game. The phone number here is 855-407-282. Let's go to a favorite childhood memory. Let us go to Mark on KSFO again, line 4. Go ahead, please.
Hello, hello, hello. You're listening to Big Mark on the radio. Today's topic in the Unsafe Space is how your hard-earned dollars are going towards liberal indoctrination of your children at these outrageously expensive universities. Trust me, folks, I know. I attend one. So what should we do about this growing issue?
Now, what was it that you actually said? Boil it down for me in one simple sentence. What were you trying to say in a simple sentence?
Parents' money going towards universities that are indoctrinating their children with liberalism.
Right. Now, why would the average person in America relate to that? What if they don't have kids in college?
They might have grandkids, they might have cousins, but, Michael, these universities are $50,000 a year, and I currently...
I know. Hey, you're talking to someone who knows the story very well, all too well, as a matter of fact. Yes, they become cauldrons of indoctrination, for sure. And yes, you can do that, and yes, it's mildly engaging, but what do you think would actually attract a larger audience than that question, Mark? Think about that one and get back to us. Take 2 aspirin and call me on Monday. Childhood memories. Let's get one good one out there before the summer is over. Michael on KSFO has a great summer childhood memory of San Francisco before it became San Francisco. Michael, welcome to the program. Give us a good memory before the hippies invaded and destroyed the city.
Yeah, you're so true. My parents used to take me to Golden Gate Park, and now...
Oh, you mean before you saw people under the windmill? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it smells like a urinal now. It's sad. And I think you understate how bad San Francisco really is. It's horrible.
I mean, listen, I love this city, but the people who run it basically should be ashamed of themselves. They should be in prison for robbing the Treasury blind and letting the bums run wild in the street. And there's a crime wave that is out of control in this city right now. And I am going to repeat it over and over again until the police are allowed to crack down. And believe me, I talked to enough SFPD to know that they love to crack down if they didn't have a psychopathic board of supervisors that intimidates them.
Well, it starts with Mayor Ed Lee, who should be ousted, and then that tree-hugging governor of ours, Governor Brown.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being a tree hugger, but that would be the best quality he would have.
He's a rock-kissing, tree-hugging...
I don't know. Nothing wrong with hugging a tree. I've tried it myself. It's pretty good. They're very strong trees. And by the way, they don't answer back. Michael, thanks for calling. I'm going to send you a copy of Trump's War. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Welcome back to the Savage Nation. We're coming to the end of a wonderful afternoon with you. And we've covered how do you think you'd be a good talk show host. We've had people doing their auditions. I've enjoyed it enormously. I think it was a great relief from the news. And there's such good news out there. I mean, we read on one hand that Putin and Trump have settled the Syrian conflict to a certain extent. And yet I'm sorry to say it, the worms in the media continue to talk about Election meddling. They don't want this to end. Do you understand how sick the people are who keep doing this? The world is a more peaceful place today after Trump, our president, like him or not, met with the leader of Russia, a thermonuclear power. And war looks to have been averted, despite the pushing of the media, despite the pushing of the so-called progressives, despite the psychopathic warmongers who live on hatred. I think the world is a better place today. So there's very, very good news. This first G20 meeting I've ever seen where there's been a good outcome for the average person. And that's because you helped elect Donald Trump, who, by the way, is not only growing into the job, he's making the job grow bigger. He's a true leader. And you wait and see what happens 2 years from now. You wait and see what happens 2 years from now. You're going to see a new America. You're going to see a new Trump. You're going to see a new respect for him around the world, if it doesn't already exist. Forget what the media tells you about him. Forget what the media wants you to think you should believe about him. I see a new world order that's going to be a better world order for all of us. Now we need jobs. We need the wall. We need lower taxes. I know. But nevertheless, today, when we read that both Putin and Trump agreed to settle the Syrian war, that's fantastic. U.S. and Russia deal on Syria ceasefire. How long it will last, I don't know. But if I can't take a respite from the pain and the suffering of the hellish news, okay, then I'm not supposed to be in the media anymore. I need to take a break from it. I hope you do too. So we've gone in another direction today. I think I could have done this for another 3 hours. I think you could have listened for another few hours. But the fact is, that's it for the day. A big weekend is coming up. I know it's evening time on the East Coast, and most people are leaving for dinner or doing whatever they do. But I want to thank you for being with me all these hours, and thank you for making Trump's War a #1 bestseller, and also for electing me to the National Radio Hall of Fame. I have a lot to be thankful for, and it's all about you, the American listener.
Savage.